And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. It's kind of a peel yourself off the mat Tuesday after that beautiful 3-day weekend, which included an awful lot of excitement. And we have to go Shakespeare on this one, do we not? Mike Lubie Lubitz, welcome to another edition of Defo and 5. Jeff DeForest and an elated Mike Lubie Lubitz, now crediting as if he was Hubie Brown, the Heat's defense, with winning that game against the Celtics. I was seeing a little bit of a difference. Yeah, the Heat defense was good. They came up with a lot of steals. Maybe they pressured the shooters a little bit more than they usually do on the outside. But it was Brick City from Boston right from the start there. That was some serious ugliness. The Celtic fans will be making the excuse that, well, you know what, when Tatum got hurt, that's when we lost it. But we have two games to analyze here and a short period of time to do it. And it goes back to the Saturday night game where the Miami Heat were in a bad spot because, I mean, they had a date with infamy. They had 1 foot in the finals and 1 foot in the grave, my friend. And it looked like it was going to be, instead of 0 and 151, 1 and 150. As the Celtics somehow, I mean, they had a tendency to go to sleep all throughout the regular season when they had big leads. They were in control of that game against the Miami Heat throughout most of it. Then in the fourth quarter, all of a sudden, late, the Heat come back. They take a 1-point lead on a real funky play where you had Horford foul Jimmy Butler at the three-point stripe when he was taking a desperation heave. My goodness. And one of the things that the Celtics did well in bouncing back from the 3-0 deficit, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and we'll get to your thoughts on this whole thing in just a sec. But one of the things that they did well was they stopped going for that first and second up fake by Jimmy Butler and stayed on the ground, and then they were able to defend them a lot better. Plus, as you were pointing out during that 2-game span that we were discussing prior to today, and then the third game you can include with the Saturday night affair, Jimmy Butler just seemed very unassertive throughout most of the 3 contests that the Heat lost. He did come on and end up being a scoring force late going, and actually looked like he was going to win the game for him. People will complain about the officials putting the 9/10 of a second back on the clock. I don't know that I have any argument with that. The problem was the Heat failed to make one of the most basic basketball plays, which is keep your big man under the basket.
Yes.
Holy Popovich and Tim Duncan. This
Yes,
is
I was
Ray
gonna
Allen all
say.
over again.
I was like, oh, I guess it's our turn.
Yeah, I mean, don't get cute, man. You're taking your guy out for offensive and defensive changes, and he happens to be on the bench when you need him the most. And all of a sudden, in that particular case, talking about the San Antonio Spurs game with the Ray Allen shot, you had Chris Bosh get his 1 rebound of the series. Why? Because he's in there against Lilliputians. I mean, it's just stupid. How do they pay these guys millions and millions of dollars? And you, me, and Andy, and Sarney, and everybody else that analyzes these games just for fun as fans could see that, wow, that's a bozo move. Yeah, I mean, you had to figure Game 7 that there wasn't a person in the country that didn't think Boston was going to win that thing. Heat 7.5-point underdogs. They start out, it's 9-4 Boston when I tuned in. I missed the very beginning of the game. I was kind of immersed in that hockey game to see what the Panthers are going to be facing with the Golden Knights now in the winner's circle and ready to host a Saturday beginning to the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. But yeah, last night, I mean, Boston was atrocious. The Heat played their game. They got contributions from virtually everybody. The role players were magnificent, even though they were on the road. And 7.5-point favorites, the Boston Celtics go down, and the Heat do dodge that date with infamy and don't become the first team in NBA history ever to blow a 3-0 lead in the series. How improbable, too, Lubie, is this? I mean, think about this. The odds were astronomical, I would imagine, if you would have played this, but it has to be unprecedented. That an 8th seed in both sports made it to the final round in the same year, and then B, that they both happen to, belong to the same city. Unbelievable. So we have 2 8th seeds playing for championships. Heat, massive underdogs against the Denver Nuggets, although I was just reading something online where now all of a sudden the Heat are a threat, where they were discounted every game all the way through to this point, and now his guy is writing, well, geez, this is going to be Denver's toughest matchup so far. And maybe it will
Probably
be, but
true. Yeah, probably
very
true.
tall order for the Miami Heat to have to contend with the teamwork that you see from the Denver Nuggets, especially on the offensive end. Can they contend with Denver defensively? I mean, Denver's defense against Miami's offense probably not all that much of a threat, but the efficiency and really the fluidity of the Denver offense looks nothing like what we just saw in this past series because they don't go through those dry spells like Boston and Miami do, not to those lengths. So
Nope.
anyway, you have to be a happy man, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and it's a euphoric time here in South Florida sports. I mean, they're banging pots and pans in the streets of Hialeah, in the streets of Wynwood, in the streets of Boca Raton. They're out there with pots and pans. I don't know that they got excited about it in Boca. No, they were looking for a Gucci bag night to kick in after the holiday, right? Isn't it the post Memorial Day sale? Yeah, we're running down to Worth Avenue. We're going to buy everything here in Palm Beach. Unbelievable. Anyway, pretty exciting all the way around. And we now have another couple of weeks to be fired up about the local sports scene, Luby, and a chance. I think we win one of these titles. I'm thinking the best shot, obviously, is in the Stanley Cup final because Denver seems to be an overwhelming uh, force, so far in the playoffs. Although they've beaten the Timberwolves, the Suns, that was no small feat, and the Lakers, who were playing good basketball. So, and they handled them all pretty easily, 12-3 so far in the postseason. Actually, their toughest series, I guess, was the Timberwolves, who bounced back. Well, weren't they down 3-0 in that series? And did they come back and win two? I don't know. But, Minnesota, it was a representative team out of the West, even though they were a low seed. And certainly the Phoenix Suns with Kevin Durant were no slouch. And you had to say that the Lakers, after their wins over Memphis and Golden State, were on a bit of a roll. And they shut that right down. I mean, really cracked the Lakers in half. So what do you think, Libby? I mean, I know, I don't know if you want to go back all the way to Friday night or Saturday night.
Nope.
That was a wild one, a very entertaining game all the way through. You thought the Heat were going to lose. It looked like a foregone conclusion. All of a sudden, they're on top with 3 seconds to go, only to lose it. And again, the criticism, resounding criticism for Bam Adebayo, who
We're
went
gonna
to
say
box out some guy on the outside while here comes Derek White to the basket. And sure enough, he gets the tip in off a good bounce. And the Celtics were able to prolong the series and take it back to Boston. First time of the 4 times that this situation has occurred where teams come back from 3-0 to force a game 7, that the
at
team
home.
that was down 3-0 had the home game for the last game of the series. So odds were against them, and they did it. And terrific time here in South Florida sports. Mike Lubie Lubitz.
Yeah, I mean, Saturday was gut wrenching because I thought the game was over many times throughout the game. And between the refs were an abomination, and the Heat couldn't overcome. They just didn't have enough, and the Celtics were hitting everything, and the Heat went back to being sloppy, went back to being really bad on the defensive glass, and they went back to not defending. They weren't defending the 3-point line at all, and as we know, the Celtics feast on that, and that's what happened for 3 quarters. And then the fourth quarter happened, and the Heat woke up, and the Heat played great in the fourth quarter.
And the Celtics fell asleep, just
And
like
the
they did throughout
Celtics,
this entire game,
I
game
think that's
7.
what it is, though. I think people don't realize that the Celtics feast on. They have a lot of talent, so they get a lot of wide open threes, and they force other teams into bad mistakes. If you've noticed, it was a constant in the series. The 4 games the Heat won were the games that the Heat didn't do that. The Heat got out to the 3-point shooter, and the Heat did not hand over the ball. The Heat had like 3 turnovers.
They
That's
also shot the ball really well in those games.
and they made
That was
those
the other
their
thing.
shots too.
Yeah.
They made shots. Yeah, but game 6 they made shots. It wasn't like they were missing shots in game 6. Their offense wasn't their issue. It was they were very inefficient, and their defense was slack as fuck. The fourth quarter, the Heat settled in, and Tatum and Brown did nothing in that fourth quarter, and the Heat dominated that fourth quarter. The problem is they forgot to do one thing. You have to finish possessions, and the Celtics, whatever that happened with the clock, and I think the operator. First of all, I don't know how they got the 3 from 2.1, but again, it is.
Well, if you look at it, when the initial contact is made, and I saw a still shot of it, I mean, like there's a Zapruder film version,
Yeah, exactly.
there were 3 seconds on the clock when Horford hit Butler.
but Butler hadn't shot it yet. So then why did he get a 3-point? Like that's
He kind of just leaned into him, and Hartford hacked him with 3 seconds to go. I think they made the right call there. I really do.
I don't know. I think they added too much time. But again, it doesn't matter to me. Like 3 seconds, 2.1, honestly, if you play a good defensive possession, it's not that big of a difference. And the other end, I think the clock started a little late, but again, it's Miami clock operator. So that's on the Heat. That's not anything the is going to do. So there's nothing to bitch about. You played great defense on the inbound. You got the ball to Marcus Smart taking a fadeaway 3 defended. Like you can't ask for a better.
He was pressured. That was not token pressure.
They played great defense. The problem was they overthought it. Like Bam and Martin were boxing out, which you didn't need to box out there. All you need to do is get the goddamn ball. Like go to the
swat it out of bounds. Do whatever you can.
Like, there's not enough time for them to fight for a ball, catch it. Like even what Derek White did was questionable in time, and that was like the maximum you could do. Like they weren't going to fight for a rebound, get a rebound, and shoot it after a shot in 3 seconds. Like they thought too much. The Celtics didn't. The Celtics, you saw the replay showed 2 Celtics going for the ball. So you know what? They finished the possession. The Heat didn't, and to me, that was the end of the series. First of all, I didn't see the Heat winning in Game 7.
Oh, it wasn't even stick a fork in the Heat. It was stick a pitchfork in the Heat.
After that, losing 3 in a row.
The charge led by Charles Barkley, who must have had a ton of money on the Celtics in this series.
At the end, he's like, "Yeah, the best."
I hope he gets a courtesy free pass from FanDuel. My God, I mean, for doing the endorsement, does he get to just lose as much money as he wants to?
Oh my God!
You could see him even in the previous game where no, I guess it was Game 5. You had Barkley celebrating. They had a shot of him when that white scrub made a 3-pointer for Boston that finally iced it against the spread. And you were thinking to yourself, how much money does this guy have on this game, man? Turn around and do the TV show. That was worse than when I ran off to bet that Angel Medina horse. So when I was doing the Florida Derby one year live on TV, I guess it was a fountain of youth. And, the story goes that guy tips me off on a horse while I'm doing a TV show, live show. And it was during a commercial break. And he says, yeah, bet some money on my horse, man. I'm like, what horse? And I looked, the horse is like 50-1. So I had to figure out a way to get to the windows because I couldn't communicate the bet to any of the stage managers. They were young girls. They didn't know how to bet. I'm calling out exactas and tries and everything. So I said, you know what I should do? I should go to the windows myself and see what the fans are doing, and get a real feel for what it's like to be here at the track. So they hand me a wireless microphone and I go up there and I make the bet on the Medina horse. And end up winning, which was great. I paid like $106. I don't want to miss out on that one. But yeah, Barkley's, he's got to get a free pass for these bets that he's making. Huh? I mean, he had the Celtics in every game.
Yes, every game and on the series, 100%. Because even at the end, he said the best team didn't win. It's like, I mean, they did. It's a series. Like that's
he actually played better as a team. Certainly, I mean,
Caleb
considering they supposedly had inferior personnel, then they certainly played better as a team. No,
I mean Butler and Bam were out of it. And look, and that's the thing. The Celtics were people will say it, and I guess they're right. Watching the series, they really proved it. These two teams are almost mirror images.
Yeah, pretty close.
They get really high, and then they get really low, and then they get really high, and then they get really low.
Well, and a lot contingent on 3-point shooting percentage, which was atrocious for Boston. I've never seen so many bricks.
It was rough last night.
My son actually texted me. The only thing he wrote one word: Brickfest. And it was a brick fest for breakfast for the Beantown people. The Heat were great though last night. 42. Well, let's see, 42 of 86 from the field and 14 of 28 from 3.
Yeah, they were 50% from 3.
Yeah.
Caleb Martin made like 4 or 5, but Caleb Martin was astounding.
He was great, man. Wow. Does that guy get a big fat contract? I mean, is he eligible for any form of free agency anytime soon? Because Pat Riley better lock this guy up. He's a player. He's the kind of player. I mean, as a role player, I mean, this is a role player that's ready to bust out like Jalen Brunson and be a big star.
Yes, he's ready to be a third or fourth guy on a winning. I mean, he was. Look, people are saying they're not wrong. He was the most, I don't know about best. He was the most consistent player for the Heat the entire series.
Could have been the MVP.
Every game.
Yeah.
Look, the last four games, Butler and Bam were bad. Butler had 2 good fourth quarters, whereas Bam never showed up on offense.
Yeah.
But Martin was consistent the entire game, every game. Like
Adebayo's going to have to wake up, though. I mean, he's going to be going against Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
That's no small assignment for anybody. I mean, we've seen Anthony Davis fail in this spot. I mean, you had Karl Anthony Towns couldn't deal with the guy. You had Durant couldn't deal with the guy. I don't know that Durant was on him so much, but And Phoenix didn't. Oh, well, no, they had
The Aiton,
Aiden. Yeah, yeah,
Eaton.
Eaton. He was eating, his lunch every day. Yeah, I mean, he's a mystery man on defense anyway. But I mean, Jokic is going to be no easy assignment for anybody. And if Bam Adebayo is going to be in La La Land, that's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to hold off on the fact that he found a way to win that series
Oh,
yesterday.
it's amazing. I mean, think about it. They have no business being there in the first place. That's the beauty of both of these things.
Like,
Neither team has any business being there, and now, I mean, the Panthers are only slight dogs to Las Vegas, even though Vegas has the home ice advantage. It doesn't seem to mean much in the NHL. We know that. It didn't mean much in this basketball series, which is surprising. I mean, look, the Celtics lost 3 games on their home wood out of the 4 that they lost in the series. 3 were at home. That seems like a virtual impossibility, but yet the Heat were able to pull it off. So, all right, who has a better chance of winning the championship? Would you say the Panthers? That what would appear to be the obvious answer. Who comes home with the title, Louis? Neither. One team, Heat or Panthers, or both?
look, I won't write off the Heat at this point. I mean, the fact that
You can't discount them. You
playing
certainly
that
can't.
bad.
Yeah.
I mean, they played bad for 2 games. The third game, they had 3 really horrible quarters. Played a good fourth quarter, had the lead in their hands, got the shot you want, and allowed Derek White to get an offensive rebound, clean layup. To me, they weren't winning the series. In fact, they went into Boston and they dominated them. You want to say Tatum got hurt? True. You want to say the Celtics couldn't hit a shot? True. The Heat still were up by 20 in Boston in Game 7.
Yeah.
I mean that I in no way would have had that on any sheet or anything. So
Red Armback had to be puking in his grave, not even rolling over, just straight throw up coming out of his
Brown's
mouth.
horrible. Like, even with Tatum being hurt, okay, the Heat have had guys hurt the entire playoffs. Literally,
Yeah.
Butler and Bam are clearly hurt. Like Butler has no lift on his shots. He's never missing jumpers like he's been missing them, layups, and Bam just doesn't have it. Both are clearly hurt, and they're fighting through it. And the Heat aren't allowed to bitch about it. Hero hasn't played the entire playoffs. Their third best player at times,
And may come back.
player. Yeah. Well, he'll be back in the finals. So I'm sorry, I don't feel bad about injury. Jaylen Brown did nothing in that game. Where was Jaylen Brown in that game?
Anyway, you know what? The fact that this guy rolled an ankle in Game 7, the Celtics had no business being in Game 7 if they were all that good. This was a number 2 seed in the East going against a number 8 seed that barely made it in there, had to beat Chicago in the second playing game, a disgrace in and of itself to get to this point. And then they beat Milwaukee for you. I mean, they did Boston a giant favor. Boston should have been just thanking them, sending them love letters, which they did. It turns out they said, you know what? Thanks for beating Milwaukee. I don't think we could have done it. But why don't you just go ahead and take a shot and see if you can beat Denver and win the championship? Unbelievable.
Yeah,
We have to run. We have a lot of stuff going on here, but congratulations to the Miami Heat. Great ball game last night. Caleb Martin was fantastic, 26-10 in the game, and he was really, really solid all throughout. Brick City for Boston would be the new nickname. Never mind Beantown. Cat's going to be taking on Vegas. Vegas was really good. I watched a lot of that game last night. 6-0
nothing.
over the Stars on the road after losing a game at home. That they had a pretty good shot in. Very, very interesting that Peter DeBoer, I guess last year he was the Vegas Knights coach. Yeah, Golden Knights coach. And so kind of odd that he gets eliminated with his Dallas Stars going against the team that he coached the previous season. They have a pretty solid team in terms of their temperament, much like the Panthers have kind of, I think, gained that kind of confidence through the playoffs now and sort of are playing, I don't know that you would call it swagger. If you were Jimmy Johnson, you might. But, the Panthers are playing with a lot of confidence right now. And Vegas has that same kind of approach. I think they're very similar teams. Vegas and the Florida Panthers getting good goaltending in the postseason. Sky Hill has really been good for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Of course, Bobrovsky could have easily been. Did they gave Kachuk the MVP of the final series?
But again, it was very much like Martin, where
Yeah,
Bobrovsky was probably better, but Kachuk has become the star.
yeah.
And he
Kachuk was deserving, though. I mean,
played really well too.
3 game-winning goals in the 4-game
He had
series.
well, if you look at his points, it was ridiculous. He had
Yeah.
an amazing series.
Got a lot of good stuff going on, Lubie. All right, Scoop Skolnick, the man. behind 5 Reasons Sports Network. He started this thing. It was like an afterthought while he was sitting in his garage. And he's sitting there with a bunch of guys going, what am I going to do now? And next thing you know, he's like a network entrepreneur. And he's going to join us, a basketball expert. And nobody knows more about the Heat. Possibly 1-on-1A with Ira Winderman of the Sun Sentinel. But Scoop Skolnick going to join us about 7:30 on our Defo show. That gets underway on South Florida Live in about 10 minutes. So please join us for that. Subscribe to our channel, and we'd love to have you on board. And Grant Long, always a great basketball analyst. Grant Long, the former member of the Miami Heat, 15 years in the NBA, now with the Pistons broadcast team. He's going to be with us as well. So a lot of hoops to discuss on the Defo show, and that's right around the corner. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys all had a great weekend. I mean, how can we possibly even go on here without mentioning another tragic incident taking place, Hollywood Beach?
In our neck of the woods.
Oh, my God. I mean, you know what? It's sad because we shrug our shoulders. There were like 3 other incidents of a similar nature around the country yesterday alone. And yet these people are like, well, I don't know. Everybody should have a gun. Way to go, Ronnie.
Yeah, there you
All
go.
right. We'll see you next time on the next edition of Defo on 5.